Okay, you ready to play? Oh, yes I am. Whenever you are. Okay. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay. New deck of cards. Cool. Man, this is hard to do. Okay, take the jokers out. These. Okay. Whew, man. Come on. Always harder to do this with a fresh deck of cards. You know, we could play cards on a video game if you wanted to. Oh yeah, that's right. I mean, after all, that is kind of what today's episode is all about, isn't it? It's about playing casino card games, right? Right. Alright, so let's put the deck down and let's play some casino card games. Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of Classic Gamer 74. I'm your host Anthony Gamer. And I'm Humphrey the Wolf, and today we're going to be discussing casino card games. Incidentally, aren't you supposed to be here next week? Oh yes, but Al called me earlier this morning. Okay, yeah, because I thought Al was supposed to be here with me. Well, he was, but remember last week when you talked about this episode? Yeah. And how, it was about casino card games? Yeah. Well, Al's wife watched the video. Yeah, she generally watches all the videos, even the ones that he's not in. Correct. But, she realized that it had been about, 6 months since they'd last gone to Las Vegas. Okay? And, she insisted he take her now. Oh, I see. That's kind of strange, though. Why is that? You'd think being alligators, they wouldn't like being in the desert. Well, that's true, but they do air condition the casinos. Oh, okay. Anyway, so some of the earliest games for the Atari 2600, the Colecovision, and the Intellivision were card games. In fact, if you bought the Intellivision, you actually got the Poker and Blackjack game with the console itself. Now, why do you think they did that? What do you mean? Put the Blackjack and Poker game with it. Well, what I think they were trying to show is that this console, the Intellivision, was being marketed not just for kids, but also for adults. Because if you think about it, young people, like around the age when I first encountered the Intellivision, I believe I was 7 or 8 years old, right? At that age, you're not going to be playing poker or blackjack. That's true. So, therefore, by including that game with it, they were saying, okay, this game console is not just for kids, but it's for the whole family. Oh, that makes sense. And this trend would continue later on into other consoles, also in handheld games. Oh, that's true. Remember in the 90s when they had all those little handheld games, most of them by Tiger? Yes. Well, quite a few of those were also card-related games. Oh, that's correct. And don't forget that for many years when you bought a Windows operating system, it came with Solitaire and with Hearts. Oh, that's correct. So, actually, Atari, Intellivision, and then, believe it or not, Colecovision, and the Magnavox Odyssey 2 were kind of the forerunners for putting card games in a video game format. So, before we get started, the million-dollar question is, why would you want to play card games on a video game? I ask you, why? Oh, well, think about it. We just opened up a fresh deck of cards here, correct? Now, let's say, for instance, we're playing this card game and we got friends here with us, right? And let's say that somebody, oops, silly me, I dropped the cards. I have Butterfingers. They drop it on the floor, right? And then they roll back, right? And, oh, man, I just rolled over your 2 of clubs. Okay? Well, from then on, you're going to probably have to throw the whole deck out because, when you play the game again, you're going to be able to identify the 2 of clubs from the back because it's got a big bend in it. Oh, that's correct. Plus, also, don't forget, cards do sometimes get lost because people like to use deck of cards for things other than playing cards, such as building card houses and, stuff like that. And, of course, when you do that, the cards are going to get bent. True. So therefore, just like when we talked in that episode about why would you play a board game in a video game, it's the same thing with cards. You don't want to lose the cards, you don't want to lose the pieces, and the safest way to do that is in a video game. And as a bonus, at the conclusion of today's episode, you're going to get a first look at my latest hack. This one is a hack of the game Smurf Rescue in Gargamel's Castle, and this is Moomin, Snorkmaiden's Rescue. This was created by myself along with my daughter Joanna, yes, and my friend Dr. Clue, a well-known 2600 hacker that has made some amazing games on the Atari Age forum. So stay tuned to the end to get a first glance at this and find out how you can get the ROM yourself. And so today we're going to be discussing casino card games that were featured on the earliest home consoles, which are Atari 2600, yep, Intellivision, Colecovision, yep, and the Magnavox Odyssey 2, correct. Alright, so without further ado, let's get started. You ready, Humphrey? Oh yes, I'm ready whenever you are.
And our first game for today is Casino for the Atari 2600 from 1978, programmed by Bob Whitehead. Alright, so the first game on this is Blackjack. Now, this has two different variations. One is with 1 to 2 players, and the other is with up to 4 players. Now, I'm not going to explain how to play the game. Of course, many of you, if you're watching this, you probably already know how to play Blackjack, and it's going to be the same with the other card games, for the most part. So, you start off with 1,000 points, or we'll say dollars, and you go through playing the game. On variation 1, you can split. On the second variation, you cannot split. So, standard Blackjack rules do apply. Yes, and don't forget with this particular game, you use the paddle control for all of these. Just to let you know, so in case you're wondering. Oh, thank you very much for adding that, Humphrey. Oh, you're welcome. Next up, we have Stud Poker. There's only one variation of this where you have 1 to 4 players, which is something I really like about having the paddle controls, is that you have that option of playing 1 to 4 players on just about any game that has paddles. Well, that's true. In this game, you are playing against the dealer, and you're trying to get the best hand and win as much money as you can. Of course, regular Stud Poker rules do apply here. Also, another thing I'd like to add is that you can flip the difficulty switch, and it will either allow you to see or not to see the dealer's first card. And our final game from this cartridge is Polka Solitaire. How do you play this? Well, you have a matrix of 5 by 5. 5 rows of 5 equals 25. So what you're trying to do is to arrange the cards so that you can get the best hands, like for instance 4 of a kind, royal flush, 3 of a kind, 2 of a kind, and you get so many points based on the hands that you are able to organize. 5 vertical, 5 horizontal, and 2 diagonal. So it can be a lot of fun. I've never played it before either until I recently started playing this. If you'd like to see a completed game of Poker Solitaire, head over to our Patreon page and I'll have a video for you to check out there. And remember, you do not have to become a patron in order to see this video, but we would greatly appreciate your generosity if, while you're there, you decide to become a patron. And of course, the link is in the description below. And next up from 1979 for the Intellivision, we have Las Vegas Poker and Blackjack, also known as Poker and Blackjack. And as I'd said earlier, this game was included with the Intellivision from 1980 to 1982. Alright, now when this game starts, the first thing you decide is which game you'd like to play. Now, this first one is regular Blackjack. Of course, you can have 1 to 2 players, and you're playing against the dealer, like always. You decide how much money you want to put in your wallet. I usually always start with around 1,000, but since we're both playing here, we just put 300. The game can go on for as long as you like. Now, if you end up losing or winning, you can actually jump to another game if you wish, or you can continue playing blackjack or whatever you're playing for as long as you wish. And of course, the dealer gets really miffed when you beat him, but which is also part of the fun. And next we have 5-card draw. Now, you may not be able to have as many players on this as you do on the Atari Casino. However, there are more card variations on this particular cartridge than you have on the Atari. And this is a good example of 5-card draw, which is quite a fun game and can get extremely frustrating, especially for the fact that when you're playing this, you have to tell, if you're playing it with an opponent, you have to tell them, look at the way at the screen, I'm going to look at my cards, and you have to assume that they are doing just that. Yeah, so there's kind of a little bit of an honesty thing here. Generally speaking, though, this game is kind of fun to play by yourself because for just that reason. You got to make sure that your opponent isn't looking at the screen and seeing what cards you have. All right, so next we have 5-card stud. As you can see, both of us have $1,000, and we're going against the dealer again, and of course against each other. You did forget to mention one really important thing. What's that? Intellivision. Oh, right. Do not forget your overlays. You will need them in this game. I forgot that if you're not playing with overlays, which you don't really have an excuse unless you bought an Intellivision used and got this game somewhere else. But anyway, do not forget to use your overlays because pressing the wrong button can really ruin your day. So just word to the wise. And last we have 7-card stud. Now this one should be interesting for you. Why do you say that? Well, because didn't you used to play Magic the Gathering? Yeah. So you were used to keeping track of 7 cards at a time. Yeah, that's true. So that kind of explains why I beat you when we played this. Oh, yes, you did. Whatever. Anyway, so if you have an Intellivision, or if you're thinking about getting an Intellivision, this is definitely a game that you have got to get, because this is one game that will keep you and your friends playing for hours on end. Trust me, we've done it. And next, from 1978 for the Magnavox Odyssey 2, we have Las Vegas Blackjack. Oh yes, you've got to love the cartridges for the Odyssey, too. Oh, I definitely agree. I love the cartridges. The handle is so cool. Anyway, so in this particular game, it's you and I think 2 players, I believe. There's only 1 game variation. So I think they give you the option of 1 or 2 players. And you are going against the dealer, like in other standard blackjack games. And in this particular game, you don't use the joystick. You actually use the keyboard that is built into the Odyssey 2 itself. Standard, simple game. You know, but because of the limits of the Odyssey, you don't really have hearts or diamonds or jacks or spades. They just have, you know, the particular color of the card with the number. So, like I said, it's your typical blackjack game. Lots of fun, and it has those just signature Odyssey 2 sounds that we've all grown to love over the years. And our final game for today, from 1983, we have Ken Houston, Blackjack and Poker for the Colecovision. Alright, now before you ask who Ken Houston is, he was a professional gambler and a video game enthusiast. Now, in this particular game, you have 1 to 4 players, and you have the option of playing blackjack or poker. Now, right here, you're seeing how we play blackjack on this game. Standard rules do apply, as you are playing against the dealer and trying to get the lowest score. Pretty fun game. The music itself can be kind of distracting, in my opinion. But I will say this, though. This is an opportunity for you to use all the buttons, or the keypad, on your Colecovision. Okay, and here's the Polka variation. Yep. I honestly have to say, though, I did really enjoy this game. It is probably one of my favorite, I would have to say, definitely one of my favorite games that were exclusive for the Colecovision, as I'm not really a big fan of the Colecovision, mostly because I don't like the controller. But this game was definitely made for that particular controller. Really enjoyed it. We've had fun playing it, and it's really a lot of fun to make the dealer almost cry, but not as fun as it is with the Intellivision, because he looks really upset when you end up winning a hand. And now it's time to check out my latest hack, and here it is: Moomin, Snorkmaiden's Rescue. Alright, now the story here is that bad old Stinky talked Snorkmaiden into going exploring with him. She probably should have known better. Anyway, he took her to the Boobles house who was a giant from the Moomin universe, and he left her on a high shelf, and now Moomin has to go rescue her. You got several things trying to stop you from getting there, like you just saw a crow, a giant Hattie Fattener, and these two moving Hattie Fatteners that are trying to stop you. And there's that crow again. Yep. You can see a lot of the background work was done by Dr. Clue, and he did an amazing job with the colors and with changing the music. Oh, look, there's Stinky himself. Yep. As much as you'd like to stomp on Stinky, you just gotta avoid him. So a lot of the really hard work with the colors, with the sound, a lot of that was done by Dr. Clue. This game would not have turned out as well as it has without his help. Amazing job, and somebody I really would like to work with again, for sure. Yeah, I like how he brightened the place up a lot. Oh, definitely, yeah, and put those warm colors that you would associate with Moomin. All right, there's Snorkmaiden. Here's a look at the custom cart that we had made. If any of you are interested in downloading the game and trying it out yourself, there is a link in the description below where you can get the ROM, of course in BIN format. And don't forget to let us know what you think about it. We'd really like to hear what you have to say.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode of Classic Gamer 74. I really hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give us a great big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to click that little bell icon down there so you'll be notified when we upload new episodes. And please consider helping us out on Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can help this channel to grow. So please, be generous and help us out. The link is in the description below.
In our next episode, we will be discussing early video games that were based on films. Now, in previous episodes, we have discussed other video game tie-ins such as Planet of the Apes, Aliens, Star Wars, Star Trek, etc. Well, there were a few other games that were based on films, some of which you might not be familiar with, so you will not want to miss that.
Again, thank you for stopping by. On behalf of my friend Humphrey the Wolf, I will see each and every one of you in the next episode. So until then, have yourselves a great day. Goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.